Big sleeves have been in a few years now, and as much as I love them visually, practically sometimes they just don't work. Fitting them under jackets or cardigans is impossible, or sometimes you can just feel a little too fussy. Today I'm going to show you some examples of ways to remove the bow tie from a sleeve to make a more practical slimline cuff. With both these options, you need to start by trying this on your body and figuring out the circumference you will need for your arm. Now it's your choice whether you want it very fitted and tight or just sit over the arm like a regular sleeve. If you have it tight, you need to ensure that you can either get into it without opening the sleeve cuff, or you will need to finish this area in a way you can open and close. First up, we have this string tie option. These are about 1 centimetre wide ties. They are cotton and they will fray once cut. Our aim is to create an overlap in this middle section and remove the excess fabric out of the way. Start by pressing out these ties smooth. I like to pin my ties in the centre at the length I need. So this section here, I want to overlap the 2 ties. Cut your ties about 1 centimetre longer than the length you need to allow us to finish the raw edges neatly. In this version, the cuff will be closed permanently. Fold under the raw edge. Pin it, ensuring there is no overlap to the edges of the tie, and you have a very neat rectangular section. If you have slippery fabric, you may need to hand baste this in place before proceeding to your machine. Repeat for the other side. We're going to sew in a rectangle around this area, working 1/8 inch from the edge. Ensure you have a thread colour that matches the thread already used on your garment, or is the same colour as the fabric to blend in. As you work, you may need to adjust your folds to ensure all fabric is neatly inside and lined at the edges. If you have any overlaps, tuck them in, but be sure not to catch your fingers. At the corners, leave your needle down and raise your presser foot. Rotate your garment, then lower your presser foot. Proceed sewing now in the new direction. To complete, I will add a button, but it will be purely decorative. Complete the process for the other side the same. Remember to mirror your overlap so that the button is at the back of the sleeve. Option 2 is if you still want to be able to open this cuff. You could begin by stitching a buttonhole on the top layer towards the edge and then place your button on the bottom layer. However, this is quite thin material with a small size and your machine may eat your fabric. The alternative would be to insert elastic into this area. Start by cutting away 1 centimetre from the edge of the slit. Finish this edge with the method we showed previously, folding it under twice and secure with a straight stitch at the end. Your material will end aligned with your slits. We will use the tie we cut away to create the elasticated section. Cut away any closed ends and thread elastic inside the channel. A safety pin works well for this. You want your elastic as long as your gap will sit open when worn, and you want your channel about twice that length. Secure the elastics at the ends and sew with a straight line stitch. I measured my length at this point and cut away the excess. Zigzag stitch each end to finish the raw edges. Now place this behind your opening, replacing this button section. Pin in place, overlapping slightly for a strong attachment, and secure with a straight stitch on the ends, ensuring you catch the elastic inside. This is a great option for tighter sleeves that you can't get on and off without opening. The stretch in the elastic gives you the movement you need to get it over your arms and into place. The final example is for wider ties. These are a good 1.5 inches wide. As before, begin by pressing them flat with your iron. Measure to decide on the overlap you will require, and then cut away 1 centimetre longer. Because this fabric is much larger than the first small ties, we have the room here to fold the fabric inside of itself, encasing the raw edges inside the cuff. I have tucked it in by that 1 centimetre extension we added before cutting. Take your time doing this. As this is thin material, I had to pin and adjust a few times till I was satisfied that it was aligned and not twisted in any way. Sew along the edge at 1/8 inch. Repeat this process for the second cuff. The overlap you give will be determined by whether you want a functioning buttonhole or a faux one like we did on the first. I will again be making a fixed cuff, so I will do the overlap to match the size of the first, remembering to add the 1 centimetre extension. As before, I took this 1 centimetre extension inside of itself and secured it with a straight stitch at 1/8 inch along the edge. Check you are working with the back of your garment and the front overlap is on top. You can now place buttonholes on the top overlap and attach your buttons underneath. This will allow you to open and close your cuff, or we can secure it as we did before and place decorative buttons on only, no buttonholes. Mine will be decorative, so I began by pinning the overlap together. For this method, I want an invisible finish, so I will hand stitch the bottom overlap to the back of the front overlap, catching only the back layer of fabric. From the front, no stitches are visible, but the flap is secure. Now place 2 buttons through all layers of fabric. You can do this by hand, or you can use the button setting on your machine, adjusting the width to match your buttonhole. Here is example 3. You can see how in this large cuff you can get working buttonholes if you desired them, as you have plenty of room. So there are 3 examples to adjust tie sleeves on your ready-to-wear garments to more slimline options. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and please subscribe to be notified of new videos. In the meantime, happy sewing!